Jeb Bush, another one of the dull candidates. Jeb Bush, he's going after Donald Trump, which, okay, good luck. It hasn't worked for anybody. Didn't work for Rick Perry. I don't think it's going to work for Jeb Bush. There are some legitimate concerns, and I've said this numerous times. If you've listened to the show, you know I'm not a big Trump fan. I'm very weary of Donald Trump. I like some of what he does. I just don't fully trust him. So there's obviously, in my mind, a lot to critique Donald Trump on. But Jeb Bush yesterday attacked Donald Trump over his treatment of Jorge Ramos, which is just stupid. This from NBC News. Jeb Bush says that Univision anchor Jorge Ramos, who was escorted out of the press conference held by Donald Trump Tuesday night, should have been, quote, treated with a little more respect. Quote, I think people with the press ought to be, people with the press ought to be treated with a little more respect and dignity, Bush told reporters. Ramos was removed from the press conference after Trump accused him of interrupting another report. He did. It's not an accusation. He did. Ramos was later allowed back into the room. Bush's comments came after a town hall event in Pensacola, Florida, where Bush continued to blast Trump's immigration proposals as, quote, not conservative. It said the real estate mogul should be held to the same standards as other Republican candidates. Quote, this guy's now the front runner. He should be held to account just like me. Go through these questions and you'll find that this guy doesn't have a plan. He's appealing to people's angst and their anger. I want to solve problems so we can fix this and turn immigration into what it's always been, an economic driver for our country. That's not always true. You want to look at the amount of illegal immigrants who are on welfare? Tell me it's a driver of the economy. Bush targeted Trump's proposal to build a continuous wall along the U.S.-Mexico border, saying it's not practical, it's not conservative. Now, remember Bush doesn't win Republicans over on immigration. Jeb Bush has said before, we need to have a bigger heart. We need to have a bigger heart when it comes to illegal immigrants. And not only should we allow illegal immigrants, we put them on a pathway to citizenship, but you know what? Some of their family members too. Bring them on over. Jeb Bush on immigration doesn't win Republicans over. Here's when Jeb Bush needs to talk about immigration. It's when he's in the race against Hillary or race against Joe Biden. That's when he can talk about immigration. But if he wants to win the Republican nomination, he should back away from the immigration stuff. Because he's not viewed in a favorable light on immigration issues. He's not viewed in a favorable light when it comes to Common Core. Bush said that Trump, quote, do it as a conservative, for crying out loud. Now, that's a statement we need to save for Jeb Bush. Questioned by one attendee about Trump's immigration stance, Bush deadpan, do we have to talk about this guy? You're the one who talked about him. You know, Jeb Bush saying that reporters need to be treated with dignity and respect. Yes, if those reporters are respecting the process. Jorge Ramos is not a reporter. He's a guy who gets on TV and shares his opinion and tells his opinion, which is fine. I'm a guy who gets on the radio and I share my opinion. I'm not a reporter. That means I will have candidates on, of course. We've done that numerous times here on the show. But I don't consider myself a reporter. I'm not going to go out there and tell anyone I'm a reporter. I'm not a news guy. Because I still look at reporter, anchor. I still look at those positions as, positions that should be, you should Not throw your personal opinion in there. Jorge Ramos is an opinion guy, which is fine. An opinion guy should be allowed to ask questions if they respect the process and ask questions. Jorge Ramos didn't ask any questions at first. He started going after Donald Trump like he was a protester. Ramos' life matters. I mean, he attacked him like it was Univision Life Matters. And I would also remind Jeb Bush that many of these reporters that Jeb Bush is saying we should treat reporters with a little more dignity and a little more respect. I would remind Jeb Bush that a lot of those reporters that he's talking about are reporters who will turn around and stab you in the back. I'm going to guess about, what do you think, Jody? 90% of those reporters voted for Obama and continue to support people like Hillary Clinton and will dog Republicans and Republican candidates any chance they get. So let's pull back a little bit on this whole reporters deserve dignity and respect. I will give people respect when they deserve it. Jorge Ramos walking into a situation where he was not invited and then standing up without being called on, Donald Trump has every right to throw him out of that press conference. And he did. But you know what was even better? Trump allowed him back in. And there's video that shows when Ramos is brought in, hey, the Trump girl tells Ramos, look, if you raise your hand, if you do what everybody else did, if you raise your hand and if he calls on you, then you can ask a question. And guess what? It happened. The process worked. So for Jeb Bush to attack Donald Trump over streaming a Jorge Ramos, really? Maybe that'd work in the Democratic primary. It's not going to work real well in the Republican primary. 770-5790, toll free, 1-800-687-0790. If you're on hold, stay where you are. We got to finish the last break. When we come back, your calls. Back on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 790 KFYO. Thank you very much for tuning in. Let's go to the phones. Out to Midland and Steve. You're on KFYO.
Good morning, Chad.
Hey.
And Jody, your sidekick, faithful sidekick. Chad, something you said to me the last time we spoke, based on, wanting to have and to actually support a person that has that proven conservative views. I believe that's how you worded that. Well, I actually thought about that for a while, and I want to ask you, how's that working out for you, Chad? Because okay. Let me rephrase that, because I have voted for every conservative. I'll say it like this: since Ronald Reagan, the first time I was able to vote, I've never voted for a wrong candidate yet in an election. Now, my candidate may not have always won, but I, too, have also supported people that have a staunch, conservative faith track record. But we have not gotten anything of our bang for the buck by sticking to our guns and keep trying to put conservatives in a place of leadership, i.e. the presidency. So the Bushes, I think Scott Walker would make a great president. I think he is not as electrifying as he needs to be. And also Ted Cruz. But I'm thinking at this point in our country, we really need a person like a Carly Fiorina or even the Donald to get this place back on track.
Okay, hey, well, you're confusing me a little bit.
All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because you brought up we haven't had a conservative. Are you talking about with Mitt Romney being the nominee, or are you talking about? I'm not sure where you're going here.
Well, both. I mean, Romney couldn't stand up, even though he had his conservative base, but he couldn't stand up and sell the fact it shouldn't have mattered that he was rich. But that became a downfall for him because they beat the living tar out of him. They did the same thing with McCain. You know, we keep trying to put something in that it seems like that either, and I don't know how to say it. If the Donald would have at least a 10 to 15, even a 20-year, or let's say at the best 20-year conservative track record, I don't think you disagree. That would be our candidate. Would you? I mean, yes.
Yeah, if he had a real history of supporting conservative, yeah, absolutely.
But right now we don't have, and even as much as I love Ted Cruz and the things that he has stood for, if he doesn't have if he was not, he needs to be pulling above the bush right now. And again, I realize we're still months away, but it all comes down to the flamboyancy and to being able to walk past
it sounds
the
like
political correctness.
It sounds like what you're saying is we need a fighter. That Mitt Romney. Let me tell you why Mitt Romney lost. It's real easy why Mitt Romney lost. Conservatives didn't show up to vote. They were disappointed. They were upset. And a lot of conservatives, sorry, and this is true, acted like children because they didn't get a Tea Partier or they didn't get the uber conservative. They didn't get Rick Santorum. They didn't get Huckabee. And so they stayed home. That's why Mitt Romney lost.
Okay. If we'll stop and look back, and I know I'm using a pretty rudimentary, base here, but just like Happy Gilmore really wasn't a golfer, but he turned out to be a really good person for the sport and a golfer. He had his own different ways. He had a flair that it brought the people that would not normally come out and vote, but he spoke to the masses, but he didn't speak to the people that had their noses turned up that would drown at the first time of a sprinkle of rain.
So you're saying take a chance on Donald and see if he works out to be great because a lot of people may show up to vote.
At this point, Chad, if he keeps leading the polls, I don't think we're going to have a choice.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Would you go to Las Vegas and bet your entire life, or at least, let's say your entire income, okay, is made off of gambling? Would you do that?
Yes.
You would shoot craps for your entire financial well-being.
Being based on the Donald?
No. I'm saying right now, you would go to Vegas and play blackjack, and that would be your job. You could completely fail. You could wind up on the streets. You could become a millionaire. You would do that.
Yes, because I knew I would know the things Obama has set in place. At least I wouldn't starve. You kid.
Well, that's okay. Good point, Steve. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
You're welcome.
See, I'm not willing to go there. We're not talking about a movie. We're not even talking about a governorship. We're talking about president of the United States. We're talking about a person who will appoint, most likely, 3 to 4 Supreme Court justices. We're talking about a guy who will fight ISIS, or gal, who will fight ISIS, and any other threat coming our way from China, from hacker, whatever it may be. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the future financial well-being of the country. I don't know if I want to go to Vegas for that. If someone said, Chad, you go to Vegas, your entire family's livelihood is riding on the craps table. I love shooting craps. I wouldn't take that. Could become a millionaire or could end up broke and take advantage of Obama stuff, I wouldn't do that. That worries me about putting Trump in office just because maybe he'll turn out to be a conservative. Woo! Boy, You're talking about the people who hate when I use sports analogies are going to get really ticked off right now. You're talking about Tony Romo, or those of you Packer fans out there, Aaron Rodgers at your own 15-yard line, and you've got to get a touchdown with 1 second left. Good luck. It could happen. Good luck.